Now we have already seen what self-disclosure is. We have seen types of self-disclosure. But since the beginning we have been talking about ethical considerations with regards to self-disclosure. So in this particular session we are going to talk about guiding principles of self-disclosure. Now let us first see what are the learning objectives of this particular session. The learning objectives are to identify the guiding principles of self-disclosure, to understand what are the ethical issues of self-disclosure, and lastly the most important one is to use these principles in the counseling process. Now friends, Hall in 2016 has given us certain guiding principles of self-disclosure. As you all can see, the first is WAIT, wait, that is a mnemonic that he has used for why am I telling this. So why am I telling? For this the mnemonic is wait. Second one is be brief. The third one is make I statements. Fourth, consider your client's values. And lastly, fourth, consider your client's values. And lastly, consider the impact. Let us see them in detail. What are the guiding principles? So as I already told you, WAIT, wait, here is the mnemonic. It is an acronym that he has used for why am I telling. That means first thing you have to think, is it necessary to self-disclose? Is it necessary that you have to speak this thing? So first you have to think about that and only then you have to self-disclose. The second one, as I told you, be brief. So be brief is because if you have prolonged or longer self-disclosures, they are unhelpful and they are damaging to this therapeutical session. If self-disclosures are long, you get derailed from your counseling process. The third one is make I statements. Now why you have to make I statements? Because we are endorsing, we are telling the client that this is something I have faced, this has happened in my life, and so we have to make it very clear to the client that it is something which has happened to me. So we have to make sentences with I. The next one is consider your client's values. So alienation, if you do not consider the values of your client, then alienation and rupture of the therapeutic session will take place. That is, suppose you believe that it's okay if we do not pray God, it's okay if we are not a God-fearing individual. But in a culture like India, where we have been taught to be God-fearing, it is very wrong if you are going to project these kind of values to your client. So it is very important, that is, your values have to be in tune with the values of the client. It cannot be against them. So in a country like India, we till today have not digested the idea of live-in relationship. So if somebody talks about it and you are talking as if it is a normal thing, your values will not go hand in hand with the values of the client. So you have to be very careful as to what are your values and what are the values of the client. They should not be disrupting or disturbing his values. It should be in tune with the values of the client. The next important part of the guiding principle is consider the impact. That is, whenever you are going to self-disclose, it is very important for us to see that whatever information I am sharing with my client, is it useful for the client? It should not be a burden, it should not be overburdening the client, and it should not try to meet my needs. Many a times I am disturbed, many a times I am upset, and what happens when we come to the counseling session, we share some information with the client for our own benefit. That is, we are in need of some kind of consoling, and so we feel that if I am sharing this information, basically it serves my need and not the need of the client. So it is very important that we have to consider what impact my self-disclosure is going to have on the client, and the whole process of self-disclosure is for the client's benefit and not for our benefit. Now there are also some ethical principles given by Guthel in 2010. Now what are these ethical principles? So the most important, whenever we have talked about self-disclosure, we have been talking whether clinically and ethically it is correct. So we are going to talk here about three different ethical principles. They are beneficence, non-maleficence and fiduciary relationship. Now what do we mean by them? The first one, beneficence, is that all this self-disclosure has to be for the benefit of the client rather than ourselves. As I spoke earlier, that is, when you are going to self-disclose, it is very important to decide that is it necessary to reveal some information about yourself? Is it necessary to talk about yourself? Since we have seen from the beginning when we studied the basic counseling skills that it is very important to allow the client to open up. We have to only speak to probe the client. We have to speak only when we need to instigate the client to share information about himself. So beneficence is one aspect wherein the whole process of self-disclosure has to be for the benefit of the client. Here the important thing is it is for the respect and the dignity of the client, which is something most important, as opposed to taking advantage of him or her. That is, the process of self-disclosure has to be to increase the respect and dignity of the client and not to take advantage of the client. The next thing is non-maleficence. Now non-maleficence is something which is related to causing harm to the client. So whenever there is self-disclosure or whenever in the counseling process we are making certain statements, in any way it shouldn't harm the client. That is, harm the client in the sense he should not even feel hurt emotionally, he must not feel mentally disturbed, emotionally disturbed, we cannot hurt his feelings. This is something important. We do not use the client for our own gratification or to advance our own goals. That is, the process of self-disclosure has to be for the gratification of the client and not for us. And we do not act with undue influence or coercion, that is by force. Here we cannot force the client for something. So whenever we are talking or whenever we are self-disclosing something, we have to keep in mind that in no way it should be hurting the client. It should not cause any kind of harm to the client. This is called as non-maleficence. So first one was beneficence and then second one is non-maleficence. Now the third one is fiduciary relationships. Now what do you mean by fiduciary relationships? We strive to not exploit the client monetarily or in other ways. Now many a times it happens that the counselor-counselee relationship is a professional relationship and definitely you have to plan some professional ethics. Sometimes what happens is just for monetary benefit you prolong the sessions or you increase the frequency of the sessions. So no such thing should be happening, and whenever you are self-disclosing certain things, it should not be in any kind of monetary benefits. Sometimes you are sharing some information about yourself with the client. Suppose it's a financial crisis or you are talking about some situation wherein you have disclosed some sensitive area of your life and the client is trying to repay you or the client is trying to help you in some kind of monetary benefit. This is not allowed and it is violation of your therapeutic relationship. So this does not work. Next thing is any self-disclosure that is exploitative or narcissist, exhibitionistic is not permitted. That is, no such self-disclosure is entertained or should be disclosed which is exploitative of the client. So lastly, what we are going to see is the last point which is very important, unburden the therapist without benefit to the client. So in this relationship, suppose the self-disclosure is done in such a manner that it has only unburdened the counselor and not the client, this relationship does not work and it is a total misfit. It violates the fiduciary relationship between the counselor and the client.